This is a continuation of something we did during Giving Tuesday of 2020. So we did a 12-hour version of this where we talked about why relationships matter for social entrepreneurs and diverse founders. And it was such a hit that we decided to continue this thing on and do it starting out once a month, ideally the last Friday of every month, talking with awesome founders, awesome experts in the intentionally good community. And today I have the pleasure and the privilege of talking to awesome founder, co-founder, CEO of an amazing startup making the world a healthier place called Varuna. So I'm going to kick it over to him for a quick intro before we kind of get right into it. Should be a really engaging kind of conversational styles type session, and we'll get right to it. So, when do you
Awesome.
introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks for this, Joey. My name is, as you just said, Seyi Fabode, CEO, co-founder of Varuna, and we try to make sure everyone has peace of mind about the water they drink, fundamentally. This is the second startup my co-founder and I are working on, but feels like we've sort of converged on a bunch of really critical issues. So pretty excited to be on this one with you, Joey.
Nice, nice. So talk a little bit about what Varuna does before we. And am I saying that correctly, by the way?
You are Varuna,
Okay.
yeah. So the name, it starts from the name. It's the Vedic deity for water and the Sanskrit word for enlightenment. So,
Mm.
and it really just says what we do. We drop sensors in distribution systems for water systems or commercial buildings and pull all that data into simple dashboards that tell them what's in the water, if there's a problem coming, and what they should do to address whatever the problem is. So that before it gets to your tap, before you and I drink the water, it's clean and we know it's clean as well. So that's um, it's essentially what we do. It's peace of mind we're trying to bring to everyone.
Right. Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I saw you all were recently featured by Google for startups. Great feature there. How can people find that clip?
Yeah, it's the Google blog. It's actually on the Google blog because it's a about 3 minute video that they flew, recorded one of our customers and just showed the origin story of Varuna. It's on the Google blog. It's on the Google for Startups page. And it was the featured video for YouTube a couple
Mm.
of days ago. I think it's off there now, but just Varuna fighting for water. Type it in YouTube or something; it'll pull it up, and you'll see some of the tinkering that we did early in the day and the value we're providing to the utilities we serve.
Nice, 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 nice. So let's talk a little bit again why relationships matter. And for context, everyone, at Goody Nation, we talk about solving what we call the relationship gap. So
Yep.
the Cape Horn Center has done a report that gives us a critical clue around why entrepreneurs, particularly from diverse backgrounds, aren't as connected. And so there are things like, over generations, we everyone has heard phrases like, your network is your net worth. It's not who you know. It's not what you know. It's who you know and stuff like that. And so there's data to show that the connection point between diverse founders and those from top colleges and universities, especially in the U.S., is large. So what it leads to is lack of access to, yes, capital, but also things like advice, talent on your team, capital. I mean, I mentioned capital, but also it leads to lack of professional development as CEOs.
Yeah.
And so, I'd like to go into the origin story about Varuna. How did you kind of meet your co-founder and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I'll I've shared this story a few times. I was in terms of that access thing. I moved to the US in 2008 and started business school at University of Chicago, and started my first startup while I was there. And I remember the day Jamel and I met, 2010 or something or 11, and I was 2010. I was on a panel. It was a VC panel at a at an event at the business school. Maybe about 70 or 80 people, and Jamel and I were the only two Black guys in the room.
Wow.
So he came up to me afterwards. I was on the panel. He came up to me afterwards and he's like, dude, we have no choice but to be buddies. And he's a great guy. We stood there, must have spoken for about an hour after that panel. We grabbed coffee, and my previous startup were just two people then. We needed someone. He's the best salesman. Jamel's the best salesman I know. I was like, dude, we can't pay you, but I think there's something here. And he joined us, and he's the godparent to my second son.
Wow.
And the beauty of that is he was also at Northwestern for business school at the same time. And we immediately started to bring the networks from business school into our lives, to the point where angel investors in Varuna, the initial funding we got was from our classmates in business school.
That's
to
huge.
To that point, because
Yeah.
frankly, we don't have family members that can give us 50 grand or 100 grand and be fine with losing it.
Right.
We don't. But I had classmates, and one of them continues to be an amazing investor and advisor now, because he's done something similar in this space and taken the company public. So there's just so much that, from having been in the same classroom with this guy, I've transitioned from Jamel to this other guy now. But it's those sort of relationships Jamel has also been able to tap into from business school that, frankly, gave us the base we needed for this company we're running right now.
So it's actually there's a lot of hidden
Yeah.
nuggets. Well, one amazing story. Two, there's a few hidden nuggets there as it relates to relationships. So one of the many things I heard is godparent to one of your kids, right? And so the reason I bring that up is because kind of implied within the whole thing around relationships, it's really thing about trust. And
Trust.
so from a startup perspective, that startups are all about speed. And
Yeah.
you cannot go fast if you don't trust the people that
Yep.
you're with your team. And so this is Stephen M. R. Covey talks about this in his book. And so speed is a function of trust, right?
Yep.
And then the other point is around the networks, around investment, and even the implied trust there. So I want to dig a little bit into
Yeah.
the trust piece. Like what are your thoughts on trust, and how has it affected you running startups and getting money and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'll touch on the trust thing from a few angles. Trust with my co-founder. Beyond Varuna, Jamel and I will continue to be friends. And I sent him a Slack message this morning about some stuff that's going on. It's been an amazing week for us with the Google video, about some stuff that's going on. And we know each other so well, and we trust each other so much that even when he totally disagrees with me, he knows my heart is in the right place. And he says that. He says that a lot. I put something it's like, I'm not sure about this, but go for it, man. Because he knows my heart is in the right place. And the speed point you just made, that's it. If I'm having to spend the next like 3 days convincing him to trust that I need to send these things to this person because it's about to be a big deal for us, I've lost the momentum that I could get. So that's the trust element. On the requirement for trust, even in the fundraising thing, the lead investor in the round we did last year, the two guys who led our round through their fund last year wrote 25K checks for my first startup in 2010 is when they invested in us.
Oh,
They
wow.
wrote the first check,
Wow.
25 grand. They made some money when we sold the company, but it wasn't Uber type exits. And we continued to engage. Even when we started Varuna, I'd send them monthly updates, even when we're not doing anything beyond just customer discovery, to the point where some inflection points happened last year. We had a conversation with them and they wrote us a term sheet.
Mm.
And that they wrote us a term sheet, and literally about 3 weeks later was when we got the Google money.
Wow.
And I 2 weeks after that, we probably filled the round. So,
Wow.
but again, that relationship for that term sheet wasn't. They say people invest in both in personal relationships and in business relationships. They invest in lines, not dots.
Right.
And lines really just mean, what are the experiences I've had with you that I either erode my trust in you or build the trust I have in you. And I continue to see that play out consistently on this journey, both personally, but also with Varuna.
Right, right. That's a whole thing. Lines, not dots. Lines,
Yeah.
not dots.
Yeah.
Now, I love it. I remember. I think Mark Suster.
Mark Suster, yeah, Mark Suster,
Yeah,
yeah.
a while back on. I need to actually reread that. But yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, any other examples of how relationships and trust have impacted you on your journey as a founder?
Yeah, so one of the metrics that anytime I have chosen to ignore it, that always comes back to bite me is this view that, and I hope people do this when they see me as well. This person I'm looking at to either give money to, do work with, do business with, or something. If I walk out of this room right now, do I believe they will have aligned interests? It doesn't have to be the same, just aligned. Because if you're successful and I'm successful, we're both successful if we're moving in the same direction. But my success depends on, if their success depends on my failure, then, and I wonder about that when
Right.
I'm talking to you. And every time I've hired someone where I wasn't quite sure, or taking money from someone that I thought, am I sure this person, every time, and Jamel will go, dude, your gut told you. Your
Yeah.
gut told you. And I'm not saying you should go on gut every time. It's just um, as we grow, as we run businesses, we're taking in so much information that you need to then tap into that information when you need to make decisions about people. And yes, it probably leads to pattern recognition, which fails you sometimes.
Right.
But if you've built enough of I'll use the word trust radar, you can go in. So it a lot to do with employees, a lot to do with relationships. I'll be honest, the first time I met you was on the webinar after Goody Nation, and then you did the founder therapy thing, and I'm thinking, this dude just gives so much. And I kid you not, and I've mentioned this to a bunch of people, and I go, you know what? I've never met Joey face to face, but I trust that he has the interest of all the people he brings into the Good Nation community together. And people can tell. We've never met, but I can immediately, after a couple of interactions, know where your heart is, because that's really what trust is all about.
Right.
Is this person's heart right,
Right.
essentially? But anyway, I could go on.
Yeah, yeah, no, 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 no. I get it. No, I get it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I mean, um, let's talk a little bit about where you're going as a company.
Yeah,
Where do you sit today?
yeah,
What are some exciting things, if any? I mean, I'm sure you got a lot of. You had said it's been a great week, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
any exciting news or just anything that you're working on, where you see yourself in the next year or two, and then ultimately, I'm going to ask at the end, how can people help?
Totally. Thank you. So I'll, you know what, folks say I probably put it out a bit too much in terms of sharing stuff. But one of the things I've always had this, Jamel and I have always had this vision that we should have a Varuna node like everywhere, so that you can, anybody, regardless of who you are, can come on to the Varuna platform and say, what's the water quality for my zip code as a resident, for example, and you see some information that gives you peace of mind. On the back end, though, for a building commercial systems manager, they get a more detailed operational dashboard that does the same thing. I have buildings in 50 states, what's going on with water in those buildings, and they pay for that service. Water utilities, same thing. What is going on? Where are the contaminants? And it's really just this like small letter God view of water across the US, across the world. And we sort of had this idea, but I'll be honest with you, over the last like 2 years, you sort of diminish your vision to attain the things that need to happen immediately. That's what's happened with us. But this week totally reminded us that we weren't crazy. Because
I love it.
It's just the visibility, and some people reach out and they're like, we met you when you spoke to us when you were doing your customer discovery, didn't know you guys had done this, congrats. Stopped reading your emails because I thought you guys were just trying to pitch me stuff, but let's talk. Or did you close your round? And I'm thinking, what? Yeah, we did. You told us no. Now all of a sudden you think we know what we're doing, you know? So where we are is we're trying to hire a few people. We closed our round in October. We hired a few people. We're trying to hire a few more people. There's been a ton of just opportunity come our way this week. So much so that I was texting with my investors last night, and the 3 largest checks in the round. I was like, I am positively overwhelmed. And they say at that point, you probably need to find people to help you.
Yeah.
Find the resources to help you. And there's sort of this nagging headache that's just been there all week in a good way, but it's, yeah.
Nah, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to borrow that phrase, positively overwhelmed, because that is me right now. That is me. I feel bad by saying it because I don't. Yeah, but it's
But
yeah,
it's true. It's
yeah,
true. You're not sad about the progress you're making. You're happy people are actually vibing with what you're putting out. But at the same time, there's just so much. And your founder, Joey, there's so much context switching
yeah.
in a day, in an hour, that if you don't surround yourself with people you trust, back to the relationship thing, you'll just go crazy.
Yeah,
Literally. Yeah.
exactly. So as we kind of close out here, I mean, how can people help? I mean, are you looking to get in contact with people at municipalities, or I mean, how can people, the general public, kind of help you out?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I didn't mention, we redesigned our hardware at the end of last year, and it just so happened to fall squarely under this building standard for building water system management, for monitoring for Legionella and post-COVID reentry for into commercial buildings. It's crazy, to prevent Legionella, but also other bacteria in the water, because it's been stagnant for a while because there's not enough people, that
Yeah,
there haven't been enough people going in and out of the buildings. So
interesting.
what we're now finding is you can put one of our nodes at the water storage point within your building, commercial building, and you get reports that you can provide to the CDC or to meet ASHRAE standards.
Mm,
That's been crazy. This week has been that. And we're looking for any introductions to commercial real estate folk across the country, because it's a standard across the country. It's There's fines for not doing it in some states, but not Georgia, not Texas. Hopefully we get there with the fines, but we're looking for intros there. We're trying to hire some people. We're trying to hire a product manager. We're trying to hire a couple of people on the sales side and a couple of devs as well. And we're super intentional about building a fantastically diverse team. The Power to Switch, we were 9 people full time by the time we sold, with a few people contracting, and only that everybody was a different hue and a different skill set, different background. We had some college dropouts, we had people. So, and we're going for the same thing here. We don't care about what you don't have right now. We just want to see that we have shared value systems. We share that with people up front. And if you're lacking in some skills, one of the guys who was working with us didn't know Python. We paid for him to learn Python.
nice.
So we'll do things like that,
Nice.
because that's the only way. We're trying to build a phenomenal and a big business here. It would be great if our people, our community that have been underestimated for a long time, benefit from the returns we believe we'll create here.
Nice, nice, nice. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, when I talk about this thing around the relationship gap and how the general public can make a difference, we kind of break it down into a few different categories. We say that if you're watching this, if you're seeing that Varuna is doing an awesome job and you believe and you trust and you you seeing what he's talking about, you can trust here, right? There's a few things that you can do. You can provide coaching if that's what they're just generally speaking to all entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah,
One is around kind of relationship around coaching.
yeah,
You can then do relationships around commerce, so
yeah,
capital or customers. And so Shay's saying like, "Hey, I'm looking for commercial real estate developers and things that and people kind of in that space. Relationships around talent. So if you know talented people, especially I think what you said, sales, product management,
sales,
and
product management, and dev. Yeah,
stuff. Yep. And then maybe you don't have those exact relationships, but maybe you know someone who is well connected, and you can open up the door. So those are the 4 types of relationships: expertise or coaching, commerce or customers and capital, talent, and then it revolves around opening doors. So, go ahead.
I'll share one thing. One thing we also do, the pitch deck we used to raise money, the financial models we used, we clean that and make it. And if you email me, you're a founder, you don't want to spend. The pitch deck that finally closed for us was deck number 76 or something. I'm saving you
Yeah.
76 versions. Just take the lessons, just hit me up. It's Seyi at Varuna IoT. If you're a founder trying to build financial models, I clean the spreadsheet. The formula will stay in there, but you can use it as well, because um, that's how I know I can sort of scale my ability to help as well. Again, back to coaching. I can't coach one-on-one, but I can give you some of the tools that I use to elevate what you're doing as well. So,
Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Any other final thoughts in closing?
no, thank you, Joey. I'll just point it out again. The stuff you, Goody Nation, the Google for Startups team, Joel, Danny, you are like legitimately changing lives. So thank you. That really is
Appreciate
it.
it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. So thanks everybody for tuning in. You can catch the replay on goodynation.org. More importantly, help out Varuna. They're making the world a safer and healthier place, like legitimately the world. And we go some clear ask. And so our plan is to do this series at least once a month, and then eventually get it to once a week. Have tons and tons of awesome guests from the intentionally good community. But I want everyone to know, two things. One, this thing that we call the relationship gap is a solvable problem, and
Yep.
you have a role to play in it. And then two, go out there and fight for the shades of the world. And we say fight, like, I mean, like, that's when you trust an entrepreneur, trust a person when you fight or advocate for them. So go fight to make the world a safer and healthier place. And more importantly, be safe and healthy out there, y'all. Have a great weekend. We'll see y'all soon. Peace out.
Yeah.